It is a steel cage bunkhouse stampede. The competitors are Dusty Rhodes, Tully Blanchard, Ivan Koloff, the Warlord, Arn Anderson, Lex Luger, the Barbarian, and Road Warrior Animal. This one went almost 6.5 minutes. Yeah, right. Big sweaty men, all in a cage.
Slapping meat.
Yeah, big. I was about to say that. It's like big meaty men smacking meat. God dang it, pal. Anyway.
Stop.
This one went 26.5 minutes. I love how the Warlord is wearing a lifeguard tank top. Like, okay. And then Arn Anderson is wearing a belly shirt.
Yeah, he did that a lot. Yeah, because we reviewed quite a few shows, and I guess neither one of us ever commented on it, but yeah, he wore a stupid, belly shirt so much. But yeah, I was fascinated. The Warlord kept his name everywhere, and even as a singles and as a Power of Pain. Looking at it now, that would never happen.
I know it's
with few exceptions. So it's like CM Punk, but yeah.
Well, I'm wondering. It's like, so did he trademark Warlord? And
he had to, right? I mean, I assume.
Yeah. It's like, so I'm wondering where he started, because I always thought he started off as the Warlord in the WWF, and maybe he did, and Vince just didn't hop on it back then. But I don't know.
Well, he definitely used the powers of pain in AWA.
Yeah. Well, Barbarian too. He kept his name everywhere he went. I mean, yeah, he was what was it, Sione or whatever, for a while. Yeah,
that was after when he was with the New Head Shriekers.
Right. Yeah, that was after this, but yeah, still, it's like he still kept the name Barbarian everywhere except for that very short stint in WWF. But anyway, to the actual match here, Koloff gets busted open, Tully gets busted open, Animal gets busted open. And after a while, Dusty takes off his belt and he starts whipping everybody.
Country whipping match.
It was kind of funny because he takes off his belt and he just starts swinging it around and beating everybody. Like, damn, Dust. But Dusty's left arm gets cut open and is bleeding at one point. I always thought that was disgusting when they bladed their arm. Like, ew. Ivan Koloff is the first to be eliminated by Animal, being dumped out over the top of the cage, which I'm just going to take a quick pause here. How impractical was this match stipulation? You have to dump your opponent over the cage and out of the ring.
It looked to me like a TNA Russo setup.
Yeah, I was like, well, who's
if you don't want to get eliminated, don't climb to the top of the cage.
I know. It's I don't know. It was just really stupid. It's like, and there are no surprise eliminations. Like, I mean, there are a little bit when we get to, people going through the door and everything. I don't know. I just think it was a dumb concept. Because, when I first heard of it before seeing it, I always wondered, I'm like, how would that work? You have to drag the guy up the cage?
Strong enough to put him on your back and climb up there with him?
Well, we did establish that they are big, meaty men smacking meat, so. Anyway. Animal then kicks the Warlord through the door, and his own momentum takes him out of the cage, too, eliminating them both.
That was so stupid.
Yeah. At first, I was like, was that supposed to happen? Because it looked like he slipped. And I'm like, I don't know. Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson both work to get Luger out of the door, and their momentum causes all three of them to fall outside. Because they're all stupid, apparently. We're now down to the Warlord and Dusty Rhodes, who, those are the two I would have called.
Oh, I had the Warlord winning this whole thing, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, of course. I mean, if it comes down to those two.
We've already alienated people now.
Outside of the cage, Paul Jones hands brass knuckles to Warlord. Paul Jones, you have a bazillion different gimmicks and stables and everything else, by the way. I don't think those brass knuckles ever came into play, did they?
No.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing the Warlord use them. But I don't know. But either way, they both end up battling up to the top of the cage, and Dusty beats the Warlord up and then hits the bionic elbow, causing Warlord to fall out over the top of the cage to the floor, giving Dusty the win. Uncle Dave thinks that Luger probably should have won it, and apparently most of the locker room did too, according to Tony Schiavone. But people wanting the blood and gut stuff were happy with this match. Uncle Dave and I both gave it 3 stars. What say you?
I gave it 2. I thought it was a cluster.
It was a bit of a cluster. I thought it was fun, though. I kind of like this kind of stuff. So it was just, what was it, 8 guys just beating the tar out of each other?
I feel like I knew who was going to win, but then it's like, this is lame. Like, I was like,
yeah.
I'm trying to find the words. Like, I knew who was going to win, and like, oh, when he won, I'm like, oh, wow, he won.
Yeah, of course. It had to be Dusty. He's got to get that giant, big brass boot. He's like, it's going to go
That's kind of what gave
it.
That's kind of what gave it away, isn't it?
Yep. Like, what the hell was Road Warrior Animal going to do with a giant boot? Besides him and Hawk trying to see who can drink the most beer out of it. Like, I don't know. It was dumb.
That one.
Wow. But Dusty Rhodes celebrates with a giant brass cowboy boot and the, I believe it was $5,000 or $500,000 check. I think that's what it was. The crowd loudly chanted refund at the end of the show, and there are 2 speculated reasons as to why. The obvious possible reason is anger over Dusty Rhodes winning. The other is because the first printed set of tickets said that the start time of the show was 8 p.m. The second set of printed tickets said that the show started at 7 p.m. The actual show started at 6:30 p.m. So everyone, I know. So everyone ended up missing a good portion of the show that they paid good money for.
Yeah, man.
Think about if the ticket says 8 o'clock and the show started an hour and a half before you even walk in the building.
Hour and a half, most of the time people are still standing in line, to be fair, but.
Yeah. Well, you think about an hour and a half. If there's the pre-show match and then, at least the first 2 matches. So the only things you get to see are like the last 2 matches on the freaking card. I would have been pissed.
Kind of makes no sense, but.
Yeah.